Yes, now we are going to start the story, The Chinese Statue by Jeffrey Archer. Okay, he is the author of this story. And here in this story, The Chinese Statue, it's a big story, a long story, where main two characters you will see. First is Alexander Heathcote, who will be the starting, means you will see the first character in the story. And afterward, a Chinese man whose name is Yang Li. Not Y-U-N-G Young, but it is the name Y-U-N-G Young. That is Yang Li, but he is an old man. Okay, name is Young, pronunciation is Young, spelling is different, but the man is old. Okay, now the story starts by the name you can understand, it is the story of a statue. Okay, the statue which is what? Which is Chinese statue. And the full story, the complete story revolves around this statue. That this statue is passing from one generation to other. The generation, the first person was Alexander Heathcote. Then you will see how it is passing to his son. Then afterward this statue passed to his son, like it means Alexander's grandson. Then from grandson to his son. Like that the statues passed, and finally this statue, which was like a masterpiece, but finally what was the result of the statue? And statue was regarded to be very expensive, to be very like an antique piece which should be kept like in a museum, like that antique piece. And you know, foreigners, they love antique pieces. And this Alexander Heathcote was a very gentle person, very punctual man, perfect man, and who used to do all the thing very properly in his life. So when he was also a lover of art, so when he got a chance to go to China to deal with something, there he found this Chinese man, Yang Li, who was the person who was making statues and all, he was also a lover of art. It was his passion, and his work was also passing from him to his son. Like that the work was going on, passing from one generation to other. And this person, Alexander Heathcote, he bought this Chinese statue. And this Chinese statue was not being purchased by Yang Li. Yang Li given as a gift to Alexander Heathcote. It was their custom. If a guest come to their house, they have to welcome them with some gift. And that there was also a custom that the guest should in return also should give something equal to that, so it will be balanced. So Alexander Heathcote also presented a return gift to Yang Li, and that was not a statue, that was an entire house. He just gifted because he was a poor man, so he gifted a house to him. So in his old age, as he was getting old, in his old age he can rest his life, or he can just move on in his life in that particular house. So this way he just returned a very expensive house to Yang Li for this statue, because he was thinking this statue is a very expensive something. But at the end you will come to know the final result of the statue, actually what was the real price of the statue and how everything came to an end. And it was really a very shocking as well as you can say a surprising end of the story. Okay, so let us move on with the story. Now Alexander Heathcote, you can call him a very hard-working man. He was an hard-working man. He was disciplined man. He was a lover of art and a very true gentleman. He was hardworking, disciplined, lover of art and a very good gentleman. Whereas Yang Li, he was an excellent craftsman who used to make all kind of antique pieces and all. He was excellent craftsman. He was also a good lover of art, as well as he was a very good old man who was very gentle to others. Okay, very nice, perfect person who was always gentle to the others who come to his little shop. So this story is you can call it as a satire also, because a kind of ending what is giving, that is a kind of satire which is something like different from the original. Means something different, and in a colloquial way it goes. Like what happens in the family, what happens around, that all thing is going on here. Now here the story starts like this. The little Chinese statue was the next item to come under the auctioneer's hammer. Now you have to remember one thing, the starting stanza of this story or the starting paragraph of this story is the present situation, where the people are. And afterward, from the second, third paragraph, you will come to know that the people or the author is making us to go to the past. Starting is how this statue means the present way. The statue was in the auction room. And then the author, who is also present in that auction room, he is the one who is watching all this thing. He is present in the auction room, and then finally he comes to know the story of the statue, that how did this statue come to the auction room. And now he takes us from the second paragraph to the past one, to the history, that what happened and how the statue came here. So the first para start like this. The Chinese statue was the next item to come under the auctioneer's hammer. Lot 103, that was the number given to this statue, 103, caused those quiet murmuring that always precede the sale of a masterpiece. Now what happened? In that auction room, the lot number 103 was given to this Chinese statue, and it was the next item to be presented in that auction room, and this was like a masterpiece which was being presented there. The auctioneer's assistant held up the delicate piece of ivory for the packed audience to admire, while the auctioneer glanced around the room to be sure he knew where the serious bidders means who comes to bid it. Bidders were seated. I studied my catalogue and read the detailed description of the piece and what was known of its history. Now the author was also sitting, he was also one among the bidder. He was sitting there, and when the auctioneer was taking this statue and was showing to everyone, so there was also a catalogue which was kept, and in that catalogue each item which was put for auction, their history was given. Okay, how it has come here, what was the history. So the author started reading the history of the Chinese statue because he had some interest. He started admiring this statue and he wanted to know from where it has come. So he started reading the history. Now we go to the past. The statue had been purchased in Halichin in 1871 and was referred to as what Sotheby quaintly described as the property of a gentleman, usually meaning that some member of the aristocracy did not wish to admit that he was having to sell off one of the family heirlooms. Heirlooms means a certain thing of the family which passes from one generation to other. Like it can be anything. Like in your family, from your grandparents or great grandparents, if there is some kind of lamp kept, or a kind of any kind of artistic thing has kept, and your father is telling this is from my father, and he has got from his father, and it must pass from one generation to other. It is an antique piece. So this way it should move on. Okay. So this way it should move on. So this way only heirloom means passing from one generation to other, any kind of material thing. I wondered if that was the case on this occasion and decided to do some research to discover what had caused the little Chinese statue to find its way into the auction room on that Thursday morning over 100 years later. Underline it. On what day it was? It was Thursday morning time, and the statue came to that auction room over 100 years later. Okay, it was that time, and author was really surprised to see it and to read its history, from where it is coming to which place. Lot number 103 declared the auctioneer, "What am I bid for the magnificent example of?" Now this statue came to the auction room, lot number 103, and the bidders were sitting and saying, now what price we are going to keep for this statue. Now the story starts again. Sir Alexander Heathcote, now the first person of the family, Sir Alexander Heathcote, as well as being a gentleman, was an exact man. He was exactly 6'3" and a quarter inches tall, rose at 7 o'clock every morning, joined his wife at breakfast to eat one boiled egg cooked for precisely 4 minutes. Now see his perfection. Gets up at a proper time, 7 o'clock. Afterward, he eat boiled egg that should be cooked for how many minutes? 4 minutes. 2 pieces of toast with 1 spoonful of Cooper's marmalade and drink 1 cup of China tea. He would then take a hackney carriage, means horse carriage, from his home in Cadogan Gardens at exactly 8:20 and arrive at the Foreign Office at promptly 8:59, returning home again on the stroke of 6 o'clock. Now see that timing. Never in our life we would have managed this kind of timing. Okay, perfectly at 7 o'clock he gets up, then he need a boiled egg and 2 toast with a Chinese cup of tea. Afterward he take his horse carriage, he moves, he reached there at 8:59, correct time he reached, and correct time around 6 o'clock he'll come back home. That was his detail of life. How Sir Alexander spent his life. Through his life you can understand how, what is disciplined man he was. So disciplined. Like very disciplined man, he used to manage his life. Sir Alexander had been exact from an early age, as became the only son of a general. But unlike his father, he chose to serve his queen in the diplomatic service. Another exacting calling, he progressed from a shared desk at the Foreign Office in Whitehall to 3rd Secretary in Calcutta, to 2nd Secretary in Vienna, to 1st Secretary in Rome, to Deputy Ambassador in Washington, and finally to Minister in Peking. Underline it. What was his post? From one post to other, he was getting promotion. Like first he was what? He was as a Foreign Office in Whitehall, then he was a Secretary in Kolkata, then 2nd Secretary in Vienna, then the 1st Secretary in Rome, then Deputy Ambassador in Washington, and finally he was going to be the Minister in Peking. Okay, finally he was to be the Minister in Peking. He was delighted when Mr. Gladstone invited him to represent the government in China, as he had for some considerable time taken more than an amateur interest in the art of Ming dynasty. He was happy that the general Mr. Gladstone invited him and said, now you have to go to China. And in China only this Peking is there. You have to go there and you will be the minister, means you have to represent the art, means means as he was he had an interest in art, and he was happy that he is going to China. There he can increase his passion for art. So he was very happy to go. The crowning appointment in his distinguished career would afford him what until then he would have considered impossible: an opportunity to observe in their natural habitat some of the great statues, paintings and drawings which he had previously been able to admire only in books. He was happy now he is going to the place where there is full art, and those art he has only read in the book. Now just imagine what you are reading in the book, you get a chance to go to that place. You will definitely feel good if you are a lover of that thing. If you are a lover of writings or a lover of paintings, if you are seeing those paintings in the books and you get a time to watch it, going to that place, you will enjoy. You will feel so happy. But if you are not a lover of anything, you will be happy in all the places, wherever you go. Okay, you only go to enjoy. But when you love something, you feel like to go there and to enhance your talent there. So he was also happy with that. When Sir Alexander arrived in Peking after a journey by sea and land that took his party nearly 2 months, he presented his seals patent to the Empress Zhu Hixi and a personal letter for her private reading from Queen Victoria. The Empress, dressed from head to toe in white and gold, received her new ambassador in the throne room of the imperial palace. She read the letter from the British monarch while Sir Alexander remained standing to attention. To Queen Victoria, he had to present the letter. She read it. He was standing there to get the reply from her. Her Imperial Highness revealed nothing of its content to the new minister, only wishing him a successful term of office in his appointment. What she wished him? A successful term of office. You can have your work here, you can start. She then moved her lips slightly up at the commas which Sir Alexander judged correctly to mean that the audience had come to an end. As he was conducted back through the great halls of Imperial Palace by a Mandarin. Who is Mandarin? Mandarin is the, you can write, high government bureaucrat. Mandarin is the known as a high government bureaucrat, and also here Mandarin is regarded as a translator for Sir Alexander. Actually, Mandarin means a high government bureaucrat who is there to show the or to guide the person who comes there, as well as he was also a translator or a guide. You can just write a guide to Sir Alexander Heathcote. He was just a guide to him. Now what happened? Mandarin in the long coat dress of black and gold, Sir Alexander walked as slowly as possible, taking in the magnificent collection of ivory and jade statues which were scattered casually around the building, much in way of Cellini and Michelangelo today, lie stacked against each other in Florence. When the Mandarin was taking him to the place, Sir Alexander was enjoying the things, the statues, the painting, because he loved it, as he has come for his work only, but at that time he is getting a chance to enhance his talent or his passion for art. So he was enjoying, he was looking at everything and he was walking by. As his ministerial appointment was for only 3 years, Sir Alexander took no leave. Only for how many years he had to be there? 3 years. So no leave he had taken, but preferred to use his time to put the embassy behind him and travel on horseback into the outlying district to learn more about the country and its people. On these trips, he was always accompanied by a Mandarin. Always. Whenever he used to go, who used to go with him? Mandarin. Why? Because Sir Alexander, first thing, he was not knowing the language. Second thing, he was new to that place. And Mandarin was a person who was knowing everything there, and he was the perfect one to guide him. So wherever he goes, Mandarin used to be with Sir Alexander. On these trips, he was always accompanied by a Mandarin from the palace staff who acted as interpreter and guide. He was also an interpreter to him as well as a guide. Always used to show him the direction, this way to go. Always, if a Chinese people meet him, always telling him what they are saying. Everything he used to manage of Sir Alexander. This much clear? This much is clear?
Yes.